Hi there, my name is Chelsea. I'm a second year at MiraCosta and I'm a bio major. The axiom I chose to discuss would be the first one, which is verbal communication. Verbal communication is defined as the high level of uncertainty between strangers that can decrease with the increase of verbal interaction over time. So the example that immediately popped into my head would be last semester in my geography class. Alright, every day in geography I would walk in and I kept to myself, but I always sat next to the same person. I didn't know anybody going into the class, so I didn't really have anyone to talk to off the bat, and I'm not really good at starting conversations, so I just kind of kept myself, but I sat next to the same person each time. Every time after that, about 3 or 4 more classes, we still sat next to each other and didn't engage in any kind of verbal communication whatsoever. So during those free periods during class, obviously it was slightly awkward when you don't really have anyone to talk to and you just kind of sit there. I assumed that they didn't want to talk to me because they weren't engaging in a conversation with me. So I didn't bother engaging in conversation with them because I assumed that I would just be bothering them and I didn't want to annoy them or anything. So we both just kept to ourselves class after class, and that awkward tension and that weird space between us kind of escalated and just got more and more weird. So on a whim one day, I decided to initiate verbal communication with him and just start a conversation. And at first there was definitely uncertainty from both of us. On both ends, we were both pretty awkward just because we didn't really know what to talk about, and our conversation was pretty limited to just the class and whatever was going on, and we hadn't talked previously, so it was kind of weird that 3 or 4 classes into it I was initiating this conversation. But after that initial conversation, or that initial verbal communication, every class after, each of us made the effort to contribute to the conversation, either by asking questions, or making jokes, or getting information from each other. And this communication continued on all the way throughout the semester and even till now, and now he is one of my really, really good friends. So I look at it as I'm very grateful that I did take that approach, or that I did make that initial verbal communication, or else I would have missed out on a really good friend. This example was the first that came to mind when I read the definition in the book and when I listened to the podcast, because it's so true how when you first start talking to someone that you don't know at all, there's that weird barrier because you both kind of don't really know what to talk about and you don't know each other and you're trying to learn about each other, but you also don't want to be rude or step on any toes or anything. But eventually over time, as you become more and more talkative, or as you start to communicate more, it just becomes more and more comfortable, and that communication just starts flowing so much easier. And that's when you start making friends, or that's when you start just getting better at communicating with people that you don't know. So yeah, I just thought the example applied really well to the topic, and that's about it. Thanks for listening.